Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope you guys are doing good, and I hope you're doing better than me. I do not feel good tonight. I'm sure you can tell already that my nose is completely stuffed up. I have a sinus pressure headache and somewhat of a cough. So if I have to hit the mute button, I will. But I thought about calling off tonight, but there's some really bad stuff going on right now and stuff that's important to talk about. I'm going to be on YouTube for about an hour tonight. And then tonight, I already have a stream scheduled over on Locals, which is another site. The link's down in the description. And I was kind of really in the mood just to talk about guns tonight. And I do have a couple new guns. You can see boxes behind me, but I can't touch those live on YouTube. And I was just going to do a local stream tonight instead of YouTube. But we need to talk about a couple things because, as I've been talking about for a long time, and I want to start off this stream the right way and talk about what really matters. This is a battle of good versus evil. Evil always has prevailed. Unfortunately, it's prevailing a lot more than it should be right now, and always will prevail when good men do nothing. And there's supposedly 4 million gun owners in the state of Michigan. And they're steamrolling us with gun control. And there's supposedly over 350 to 400 million, probably way more than that, firearms in the United States. While we're watching them in so many ways steamroll our whole country. Those who would give up an essential liberty for a little bit of perceived security not only deserve neither, but will wind up with neither. That's what Benjamin Franklin said. Now, he also said when he was asked by a woman when this country was founded, what do we have, a monarchy or a republic? He said a republic if you can keep it, which would mean a monarchy, or even worse than that, if you can't keep it. So as people keep becoming more and more surprised about things that are going on, not only on the state level, but on the federal level, executive actions, executive orders, laws. Today, something really bad came out of the judiciary system with CRS Firearms, Justin Irving. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in a minute here. Are we surprised, or are we actually just getting what we deserve? I think it's a good question to ask. It's a question that Ben Franklin predicted the answer to a long, long time ago. And somehow there's still people saying, ain't nobody coming for your guns. America, we have the legal system. We have the justice system. Really, because a federal judge just said, quote, high capacity, which are actually really standard capacity magazines, are not protected by the Second Amendment. That just came out yesterday. And then today, in relation to the auto keycard case, Matt Hoover, otherwise known as CRS Firearms, here on YouTube, and Justin Christopher Irving were found guilty by a jury of their peers in the court of law. Now, I say found guilty because that's what the jury found. I don't know all of the facts of the case, but from what I've heard, from the reporting I've read, I don't think I could have come to that same conclusion. But I guess that doesn't really matter because I wasn't there. And this is considered to be due process in the United States. Now, in a country where the supreme law of the land is supposed to be the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, in which the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And that would be enough right there to where machine guns would never be able to be made illegal. Just keep in mind, in the United States of America, assuming that the Second Amendment is part of the Constitution of the United States of America, machine guns would never, ever, ever be allowed to be made illegal. So we ask ourselves, and I asked you this last week, and I don't have an answer quite yet. I don't know how many of you do, but what country are we living in? Because the supreme law of the land literally says shall not be infringed. And 2 people were convicted today of machine gun and other charges for actually exercising their First Amendment protected rights. Well, hold on a minute. Yes. See, I've been saying this for a long, long time. A lot of people have been saying it now. Some people have been saying it a long time, but the Second Amendment was put there not for if, but for when they would come for all the rest. And instead of the Second Amendment protecting their right to keep and bear arms, in my opinion, they got convicted by the Second Amendment today while exercising their First Amendment protected right to artwork, to free speech. See, an auto key card, I guess, as far as the courts are right now there's appeals, there's other things, and I hope justice is eventually handed down. I don't have a whole lot of faith it ever will be. I don't have faith in hardly anything anymore, especially when I hear the government, whether it's the court system, the legislative, the executive. As soon as I hear the government, almost all my faith's out the window. I know there's good people out there and a lot of good people watching here right now. But some of the scariest words you could hear, and it's more true now than when it was said before, is I'm from the government, I'm here to help. But instead, people keep going to government, saying that the government is going to solve their issues. So while exercising their First Amendment protected right of freedom of speech, there was an item created called the auto key card. Now, if you're familiar with it, it came in different varieties that were essentially sheet metal, steel stock, that had a very light etching. Now, it wasn't perforated to the point where you could just break it on the dotted line. Nothing like that. A very light diminutive etching of a part that has become known as a lightning link. Now, you're going to have to follow me down a road that makes no sense, because truth is treason in the empire of lies, because this all should have been stopped at the very beginning. Shall not be infringed, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation. And we shouldn't be having this conversation. And I'm so ticked off that we have to even be talking about this. And I feel really bad for CRS and his wife and his kids. And I feel really bad for Mr. Irving and his kids. I don't know as much about his family because he's not quite in the public eye the same, but his family cares a lot about him, obviously. And what their families are going through right now, I can't even imagine. So God bless all of you. I doubt that any of them are watching this channel right now, but if you happen to be, God bless you. So it's a drawing of something that in a world of shall not be infringed, where machine guns should be completely 100% lawful, there should be no gun laws. There cannot be any gun laws if the Second Amendment is part of the Constitution and if it actually says what it says. There's an item that's called a lightning link. And they say that just having that item in and of itself is a machine gun. Now, you could own a lightning link without even owning a firearm, and it would still be considered a machine gun. And this is a drawing of a, quote, so-called lightning link on a piece of stock. And they got busted for that. And then they went through so-called due process and so-called fair trial by a jury of their peers. I say so-called because, boy, oh boy, would it have been hard to convince me of such if I was sitting on that jury. Found guilty today. Justin found guilty of conspiracy. Found guilty of so-called structuring. And 10 counts of transferring a machine gun. Now, CRS, otherwise known as Matt, was found guilty of 1 conspiracy charge and the transferring of 4 machine guns, or facilitating the transfer thereof. Now, first of all, a machine gun shouldn't be a crime, obviously. Not in America, anyways. And a lightning link is not a machine gun in and of itself, because first of all, they don't work very well. I've never owned one, but I've researched the topic. From what I understand, they don't work very well anyways. But this shouldn't be a machine gun because it's actually just a piece of sheet metal cut out in a particular shape. But even if that is considered a machine gun, which it shouldn't be, I'm not granting that. I'm just telling you the world we live in, where we have over 20,000 federal gun control laws and regulations. That's just on the federal level. We're up to almost 40 gun control bills and laws in Michigan just in the last couple months, and I'll get into those in just a few minutes. Now we have something even further removed from that, and it's a drawing, an etching of a so-called lightning lake. Now I say so-called because I doubt it. Because during some of the evidence that was put forth by the government, they actually couldn't even get them to work when they did cut them out. And they had to like jam one in there in a particular way to get what's called hammer follow, to even get it to fire more than one round. And the way I understood the evidence that was presented by the government, it still wasn't functioning how a typical machine gun would function. Now, these auto key cards were considered such a menace to society and such a threat to the public safety that we're now watching two men, the one looking at about 100 years potentially. It could be much less than that during sentencing, and I certainly hope that it is. My hope was that it would be 0 days, because this is going to ruin these people's lives and their families' lives. And it's also setting a very bad precedent for everybody else. Setting a very bad precedent for the right to keep and bear arms and allowing them to infringe a lot more, in my opinion. I think this is just the beginning. And the way things worked out with this case, there was a bunch of, yeah, right. You have to be kidding me. Although, don't confuse my tone of voice here. Yes, I am sick today, and I'm sorry I'm so nasally, guys. I would have normally, if this was a job, I would have called off. But this is more important than a job. That's why I'm here today talking to you guys. But this is one of those, yeah, right. Like, I'm not surprised in a million years, but I think there's something a lot bigger afoot with this. I really do. And I think this is what was needed. This was a puzzle piece that was needed for a whole lot more. Now you've got Mr. Irving facing potentially 100 years in prison. I mean, that's me doing the quick math. Now about 120 years, I guess, it'd be 10 years per count, $250,000 per count. We're looking at CRS, looking at, by my quick math, about 50 years in prison. Hopefully it's a lot less than that. I really hope so. Can you guys believe this? 2 men for having a drawing of something that you have to really reach really, really far to say that a drawing of something is something. Like, I can't even reach that far. That's literally insane. A drawing of something that looks like something that's a piece to, in theory, a machine gun, which shouldn't be against the law anyways, has got 2 people. Look, these are real people here. These are real people here that have real families and people that no doubt love them. Seems like they take better care of lab rats than they do people right now that are part of the experiment of, what do they call it? This isn't me calling it this. They call it this. The social new order, the new world order, the you'll have nothing and you'll be happy. You know, the United States is biting and chomping at the bit with the former vice president and the Senate. They're just a couple votes away from entering into the UN Arms Treaty, which could have foreign entities ban and collect all of your guns. We're this close to that, just to let you guys know. We're this close to a new digital currency where they can track and give you quotas based on your ESG, your social credit score. It's really complicated. I'm not going to get into all of it, but people are like, oh boy, what would happen if we were put in a pot of water and started to be boiled like a frog? No, we're like 1 degree away from it boiling us to death. And most people don't even know that we're in it right now. Even though they literally say it right in front of you on TV, they'll say it in the newspapers. I don't blame you if you don't watch those, but people on here talk about it. And so many people are still sitting back saying, yeah, right, whatever. Now, let's get this straight. As a novelty, as a conversation starter, that's the way Mr. Irving meant the product to be. In fact, when the machine shop, again, I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. My summary might not be perfect. I'm trying my best. I should be asleep right now, guys, but this is very important. When they were talking to the machine shop, they said, it's not the right thickness. It's not the right type. And he said, that's fine. I don't want it to actually work. This is artwork. This is a conversation starter. And you could hold it up in theory if you own one and talk to a friend and say, see this? This is just a piece of artwork. However, if I were to cut this along the lines, I would be committing a felony, which could land me 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. And then people would come back and say, really? How's that possible? That's from what I understand the intent was. Now I guess CRS Firearms took a sponsorship deal, and it appears to me anyways, by watching his videos and things that have been said, that he believed that it was a piece of artwork and that he was in support of the product. Well, I guess that's where the conspiracy charges come into play. And they're hitting these guys on machine gun counts, machine gun charges, which each one carries 10 years in prison. I hope they get less than that. I don't know. Now, keep in mind, Baldwin just walked free. You guys know about that, right? Oh, yeah. Alec Baldwin literally shot and killed somebody with a gun that he was holding in his hands and isn't even going to have to go to trial. Think about that for a minute. So a drawing of something that shouldn't be a machine gun, but somehow is, and machine guns shouldn't be illegal. And then even when they cut them out, couldn't even get them to function properly. There we go. Now, here's the crazy part. As far as I can tell, this started off with a bank. Some bank teller was wondering why somebody was trying to get certain amounts of money out of the bank. And maybe, according to what I heard throughout the coverage of this trial, I've been paying attention to John Crump, and I did leave a link to his AMOLAN article down in the description of this video. It was because sometimes you go to the bank and go to withdraw cash, and they don't have enough cash, so they're like, we'll give you this much. But if you need more cash than that, you either have to come back later or go to other banks. That may be a plausible reason why. Now, think about this. Somebody going to get cash that they made, that can actually be illegal. It falls under what's called structuring. This shouldn't be just a Second Amendment issue. This is an issue of like whether we live in America or not. You know, you work really hard in your life and the government steals a good portion of your income from you. It's called extortion. It's called taxes. But that's not enough. Even after you pay those, if you go to try to get too much cash out of the bank, they nail you. And now we're talking about a new digital currency and a social credit score and an ESG. And yes, on its face, this case has to do with machine guns. But I think this case says a lot more than that. Think about everything going on. The IRS. Tens of thousands of new agents that were all trained in like combat tactics. Armed like a SWAT team? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know what's going on with this judicial system that we have in this country, but from what I understand, you can't even make Second Amendment or First Amendment claims in court. So because those two were the first and second thing that was enumerated to be protected by the United States government, meaning they were the number one and two most important things for the United States of America to be a republic, if we can keep it, because they're the two most important things, you're not even allowed to use them for defense in court? I'm not a constitutional attorney. I've never argued in court, but that's what my research has found. That you can't even use those as defense. Excuse me. All men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, what's next? This is very important. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That was the document that was signed by the Founding Fathers on July 4th, 1776, a year after they started fighting. That was about 248 years and 2 days ago when the shot heard around the world was fired on the greens of Lexington and at Concord Bridge that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, meaning the only reason the government would be allowed to exist at all is to protect your natural given rights, God-given rights. These are the laws of nature and of nature's God, is what Thomas Jefferson wrote, and all of the co-signers signed. And we find ourselves where there's two people in court for a drawing of something that shouldn't even be a machine gun, but it wasn't that part. It was just a drawing of it, and a machine gun shouldn't even be illegal, and it got found guilty today. And because it's the First and Second Amendment to the United States Constitution is why you're not allowed to use it in court? Excuse me? Does anyone have a good answer for me yet? Now, this is hypothetical, and you don't have to answer. Good night, Lori Dick, and take it easy. I'll see you Monday. Look, what country do we live in right now? Because the United States of America was founded on certain unalienable rights, endowed by your creator. And that to secure these rights, government would be instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Now we have a government that is so weaponized against you. And make no mistake, they're weaponized against CRS, Firearms, Matt Hoover, Auto Keycard, former owner, I guess would be the proper way to word it, Justin Irving. Oh, they're weaponized against them, no doubt. And against their families and people that they know and love. But they're also weaponized against you. Because now you're afraid to draw something, aren't you? At least they want you to be. There's a rally tomorrow in Michigan. It's at the Berry County Courthouse in Hastings from 1 to 5 p.m. I'm going to be there. I'd like to meet whoever I can. For more information about that, I think I see Crazy Heathen in the comments. If you have any questions, ask him. I know he has it posted on his YouTube page in the community section. I'm encouraged and looking forward to the fact that quite a few of you guys are going to be there. I know you all can't be there due to different reasons. But I'm kind of disappointed that I've had I don't want to say majority, but a fairly large number of people in the last week that have said, you know what, dude, are you nuts? And I said, well, I don't think so. No. I just want to be left alone. I'm just a normal person. That's all any of us want, is to be left alone. They're never, ever, ever going to leave you alone. I wish you'd tell your friends that. But I said, well, wait a minute. Back to this again. Why? No, I don't think so. I'm just a normal dude. You'd have to be out of your mind to go after January 6th, and their eyes get all beady. After January 6th, when the cops let them in and they were walking around taking pictures and they showed grandma and the cops were. There's a lot of people afraid right now to go to this Second Amendment rally in Michigan because of January 6th. Can you believe that? I don't want to believe it, but it's true. There's going to be a lot of people afraid right now to draw something or paint something because of what they did to Mr. Irving and to Mr. Hoover over drawings of something. Just think about this. One guy started a business where something was drawn on a piece of metal, and the other guy said, oh, geez, this is a great conversation piece. This is to let people know that the laws of the land are so darn messed up nowadays that, see this? This is just a drawing. And then your friend says, okay. And you're like, but if I were to cut this out, I mean, that's what I saw in a lot of CRS Firearms videos. But if you were to cut this out, then they could get you for a felony because it would be called a lightning link. Now, a lightning link's not really a machine gun, in my opinion. Not giving you guys legal advice, but that's insane. The supreme law of the land says shall not be infringed. And then you start to have that conversation. Okay? And that's what I had heard that was marketed. Now, I can't think of the exact words. Again, I'm not a lawyer, guys, but from what I understand, CRS Firearms, Matt Hoover, was in a marketing relationship with this auto key card. And I'm sure he was making a little money off of it. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm assuming so. That's how people keep their channels going. And I appreciate all of you guys who support and help sponsor this channel as well, because something has to put a little bit of butter on the bread. And it also seemed like he genuinely believed in the product, and he thought that he was going to exercise his First Amendment protected rights to raise awareness for his and his viewers' Second Amendment protected rights. That's what I personally gleaned from it. The jury found out different. So, look, it's a real dark day, because I think this has to do with something so much bigger. Now, to Matt Hoover's family and to Justin Irvin's family, there's nothing bigger than this, of course. You really can't get a whole lot bigger than this, can you? The one's facing up to about 120 years in prison by my rough math, and the other one's facing about 50 years in prison. So, first and foremost, this affects them the most, obviously. But I believe this is part of something so much bigger. So much bigger than this. From what I understood, the prosecution got so unprofessional during the last part of the arguments, the oral arguments, that people were wondering if they were in a courtroom or a circus. Okay. Now, I see John Crump in the chat. What's happening, John? How you doing, man? Now, from what I understand, it ain't over till the fat lady sings. She hasn't sang yet. He was found guilty. They were found guilty. CRS and Justin. They were found guilty today. Somehow by a jury of their peers. Somehow. Boy, it would have been hard to convince me of such. I'm trying to keep an open mind, guys. I'm not privy to all of the evidence that the jury heard, but boy, oh boy. I'm going to say right now, sight unseen, it would have been impossible to convince me of such, but they were convinced beyond any reasonable doubt. Supposedly. I don't know what to believe anymore. I'm having a hard time believing that. Let me just be blunt about it. I'm having a real hard time believing this. First of all, you'd have to convince the jury that a lightning link was even a machine gun, you'd think, but then you'd have to convince them that a drawing of something was something. Excuse me? So, if I had let me think of something here. Coors Light keychain. Okay. Screw that woke brand. But if I had a Coors Light keychain on my key fob, and the cop pulled me over and said, "Oh, you're under arrest for drinking and driving." And I'm like, "But I don't drink." But you have a keychain that looks like a bottle of beer. And in the state of Michigan, if you're driving with a bottle of beer in your hand, you're considered operating while under the influence, drinking and driving, whatever. But hold on a minute. I don't have a beer in my hand. I have a thing that looks like a beer. Doesn't matter. Just think about that. How many of you guys have an M16 or an AK-47 keychain? It looks like something that's full auto. Do you have a machine gun now? According to this jury, you do, actually. If you had a picture or a drawing of a beer, now you have beer on you. DUI. I mean, am I going too far with this analogy? I don't think so, actually, because this was just a drawing on a piece of metal. A drawing. It wasn't perforated or cut 90% to the point where you could just break it off. No. And it obviously wasn't the right material, and it probably wasn't even to the right scale, because from the reporting I've read, they couldn't even get these things to function as lightning links. The ATF couldn't. Yeah, they jammed one in there and got it to hammer follow or slam fire. Well, that's like the world's smallest machine gun that we just heard about the other day, where if a little shaving or a little piece were to break off of something inside your gun, it could be a spent primer, actually, and it gets in the way of the disconnector just the right or wrong way, it can make your gun what's called slam fire. Still not technically functioning like a true machine gun would, but letting more than one round ignite on one function or pull of the trigger, because we don't know if it's pull of the trigger today, it's function of the trigger tomorrow. Yeah, I know there's statutes, but does that mean anything anymore? Obviously not. Look, we don't even know what a trigger is anymore, let alone if you have to pull it, do a function of it. Look at forced reset triggers. As reported by John Crump recently, John Crump News, shout out to you, man, and your channel. They're coming around picking those up right now. They're about to make about 40 million of you guys felons. It's called Future Felons of America. And it's a not so distant future. Tens of millions of people are going to become felons overnight. Now, this is especially about Matt Hoover and CRS Firearms and Justin Irving. Like, it literally is. But I told you a minute ago, this is about so much more than that. That to secure these rights, governments would be instituted among men. That to take people's father away, husband, friend away, the government would be there to weaponize the Second and First Amendments. Could you imagine if they would have wrote that in the Declaration? How many people do you think would have died to get this country going if that's what they would have declared? That to weaponize worse than the King of England, a federal government will be created that's so omnipresent and so evil, just raw, pure evil, will make everybody afraid to even live. And some of them will actually kill, because the anniversary of Waco, Texas was just the other day too. I don't know. I grew up saying, man, I just live in the best country in the world. And I think I might live in one of the most evil countries that's ever existed right now. I think that I live in a very, very evil country for sure. There's a lot of people doing absolutely nothing. Nobody cares. And I know you guys that are watching tonight, I'm sure you do, but remind your friends, this is getting serious now. This is getting real serious. One man's facing 50 years in prison. The other's facing about 120 years in prison for a drawing of something. We live in a country that is run by pure, unadulterated evil. The United States of America, the United States government, is a very, very evil government. Do you guys disagree with me? That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And that's what really sucks the most, is the fact that apparently all of us consent to this. Clearly, the vast majority obviously do. They only have power because we consent. Deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. What a sad day today. I'm going to read some of these chats because I want to see what you guys are saying real quick here. I do have a local stream scheduled in about 30 minutes or so, but I'm going to stay on here and hang out with you guys for a little bit more. And I do have some Michigan announcements. Let me read some of these generous super chats. If you could help me out, please, Linda. All right, I found the mute button there. Rudy Fenny with a super generous super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate you, dude, and for being a channel member. I didn't get your message in there, but thanks for helping support the channel. And I appreciate all the different ways you guys support the channel. Those of you who support on Patreon, generous super chats, those who are channel members, and also locals, which is another site, censorship free. I already have a live stream scheduled there in about 35 minutes or so. And I'll be over there tonight because I can touch guns live and I can't here. And I'm gonna need like a 5-10 minute break because I'm actually like not feeling very well right now, but doing the best that I can. So make sure you guys head over. We're gonna hang out here for another half hour at least, though. I want to hang out with you guys a little more tonight. All right, thanks, Rudy. Band Talk with a generous super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate you, dude. He says, and being a channel member. And by the way, God bless all of you out in Colorado. You may have postponed or dodged a bullet right now with the so-called assault weapons ban, but I've heard they've recently strengthened Red Flag and one or two more. Fill me in, guys, on what's going on in Colorado, but I know it ain't good. He says, let's be clear about what happened. A husband, father, son, and provider was removed from his family for harming the state. Who did he harm, though? I'm thinking to myself. Wait, no person can point a finger at Matt and claim harm. Oh, imagine that. Only a tyrannical government. So let me get this straight. And I appreciate that super chat. Thanks for the generous contribution. And I appreciate that you're smart. That's a very smart, wise thing that Ban Talk just said. Think about this. The only thing he harmed was tyranny. Calling out a tyrannical government because making machine guns illegal is tyrannical. Calling a so-called lightning link a machine gun, that's tyrannical. He was part of calling this out. Now, there's two people. We know more about Matt than Justin, so it's not that I'm not making Justin like less second place. It's nothing like that, guys. It's just a lot of us know who Matt Hoover is because of the millions and millions of views that he has collectively on his YouTube channel. Justin Irving, no lesser of a man. All the shout out to him too. It's just I don't know as much about him, right? But these guys went to harm a tyrannical government. Point to one other person that was harmed. You know what was interesting too, as reported on the case? They asked the government, they said, so is the ATF going out picking up all of the auto key cards that are still on the streets? They said, no, we called that off. Couldn't prioritize it. Wasn't worth it. Not that big of a deal. So they stopped picking up any auto key cards that they know are out there on the streets. Well, hold on a minute. These are so harmful that these two men combined, by my accounts, facing 170 years in prison. It could be a lot less than that. I hope it's a lot less than that. But hey, that's what they're facing. And look, and then they were asked, well, what if it was full auto AK-47s on the street? Would you guys go pick those up? And they said, oh, yeah, of course. We'd go pick those up ASAP. So wait a minute. If it was actually really a machine gun, they'd go out and grab them right away. Well, of course, they need those for the Biden, Obama, Holder administrations, Operation Fast and Furious. We need to arm the cartels with guns so that when they come back into the United States and kill people, we can both document it and get the gun control agenda. Because Rahm Deadfish Emanuel said never, ever, ever let a crisis go to waste. See, they have all these gun control laws and bills written up in Michigan. And some of you didn't believe me before, but in all of these 50 states and on the federal level, but in Michigan that day, the day the tragedy at Michigan State happened, I said, guys, they've got them written up. And earlier that morning, a tell-all article had been done in the Detroit Free Press. And I was streaming live saying, look, this is the Democrats' plan to put massive sweeping gun control through Michigan. But they were going to do it slowly. While I was live on this very channel, can't even make this up, my chat starts blowing up with, there's something going on at Michigan State. And there was a tragedy that happened that night from someone where the prosecutor didn't prosecute the existing laws we already have on the books. Not saying I agree with any gun control on the books, but even with the gun control on the books, they didn't prosecute somebody. He wasn't in jail, committed this atrocious act at Michigan State. And then boom, there you go. Now we have dozens of bills and laws that have been signed into Michigan recently. They already have the bills written up. They're just waiting for the next tragedy to happen. And that's if you're giving them the benefit of the doubt, because some people look at it as even more sinister than that. So there you go. All right. Do I have some more chats here, Linda? If you could help me, please. I'm trying to. All right. Let me go over here. QD with a super generous super chat. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much. He said $100 says, as a machinist, the dimensions are off on purpose. The whole auto key card, it's a meme in reality. You know what? That's my personal opinion too. That the dimensions are slightly off on purpose and that it is considered that is a good way to word it. Basically a meme that was put on a piece of metal. Now, you guys know this, though, right? There was just somebody found guilty just recently, I believe. I know for sure it's going on in court, but from doing a meme against Hillary Clinton from 2016, I believe he was found guilty. I think that case is over now. Just hit the news. I don't follow the generic news as much as Second Amendment and firearms cases, but yeah, somebody else just got nailed by the federal government for a meme that had nothing to do with guns at all. Memeing, yeah. Very, very dangerous. There he is, John Krupp News. What's happening, man? He said, hey, you. Well, thanks for the super chat, and thanks for your reporting on this travesty that's occurred today in our so-called justice system. So-called justice system, right? John's article from AmmoLand is in the link of this description. I know John does a lot of hard work, and a lot of people on YouTube just kind of take a lot of his hard work and take the credit themselves. But as always, and I definitely gave you a shout out when I first started tonight, Crump, and the article is down in the description of this video. I always like to acknowledge people's hard work when they were busy doing research and reporting. Thanks, Crump. QD with another generous super chat. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you, dude. Thank you. He says, Matt Hoover at CRS is a hero. What do you guys think? Supposedly, he's a criminal. You know who committed crimes a lot worse, though? I talk about the document, and trust me, I'm not by any means saying Matt Hoover's on the same level as Thomas Jefferson as being a hero. I'm not. But at the same time, when they wrote down that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed, everybody who signed that Declaration of Independence were criminals too. That's why I said earlier tonight, I said, truth is treason in the empire of lies. Now, I wasn't involved in any of the briefings with his legal counsel. I don't know what happened behind closed doors. But if I were to opine, I'm just guessing, okay? They probably offered some type of plea bargain just because there's like a 90-something% conviction rate in the federal court system because almost everybody takes a plea bargain. So if I were to guess, at least statistically speaking, Matt Hoover was probably offered a plea bargain. We can make this all go away. Just make yourself a prohibited person. Maybe they take it down to like 5 years of probation or maybe like 1 year prison and 3 more years of supervised release. I'm making all these numbers up, but if you guys look at what's going on here, that's very, very common. Well, the fact that he went all the way through to the end of the trial means he was willing to make a stand on this. And so was Justin Irving. I've heard his name reported as Justin and Christopher both, but Mr. Irving and Mr. Hoover, we'll say. They wrote it all the way out to the end. They wanted to make an example out of the federal government and show their corrupt prosecutions. And at the end of the day, it appears that the government has now made an example out of them. What's your guys' opinion on all this? I don't know. From what I understand, they have been convicted in a court of law. However, there's still some motions that either have been filed or can be filed very soon here. The defense could still petition for a mistrial. They can still get the judge to come in and basically throw out the jury's decision. Could. Will that happen? If you want my honest opinion, probably not. I don't have any inside info on this case at all. And the fact that I don't have any inside info on this case is why I'm saying probably not. But maybe. And I really, really, really hope I'm wrong. More than anything. But probably not. Now there's what's called sentencing. So there's different motions that can be made to basically still try to throw this out at the end. we have a trial by jury, but a judge can set aside or throw out the whole jury's decision if they want. So it becomes this whole endless circle that makes your head spin. Do you really just have a bench trial in the end, or do you have a trial by jury? I don't know, because a judge can throw out a jury's decision if they legally justify, or if they want, or if they flip a dice or roll a dice or flip a coin. I don't know how they decide these cases anymore. It's supposed to be you have to be found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think people would have a better chance now if there was dice roll and coins flipped. Because at least you'd have a 50% chance of getting justice if you flipped a coin. Then they have to get sentenced. From what I understand, Matt, CRS Firearms, sentence he's going to be in July. From what I understand, and I'm saying from what I understand because the last thing I want to give you guys is false information. The main point of this stream is just to talk about stuff with each other and be there for each other, because we're in a really, really dark place, in a really messed up country right now, on this spinning mess of mostly water and some land. In July is when he'll get sentenced. From what I understand, Matt Hoover is facing 50 years, 10 years for each one. Will he get the full 50 years? Again, I think he'd have a better chance flipping a coin than he would having justice, because I don't believe in justice. Justin Irving's facing about 120 years in prison from what I see. Again, hopefully they roll dice or something for him, because that'd be better odds than having any kind of justice. I doubt they get the full sentence, though, to be honest. But geez, oh Pete, even if they plot it down and got half of that, even if they got 5 years, even if they got 1 year, the main thing is they'll make sure they're prohibited people the rest of their lives. No matter what, that's going to be part of it, in my opinion. Now, there's also appeals. Let's hope they can go through and get an appeal. Because if there's an appeal, hold on, then that changes everything. That literally throws away what the previous court decided. Now, this could go back and forth like a darn yo-yo. This stuff's insane, by the way. We live in a really weaponized, demonized, demonic, evil country right now. Don't forget that. Where instead of to secure our rights is to weaponize and to scare people. Half the people I'm talking to are afraid to go to the rally tomorrow at the Berry County Courthouse steps in Hastings, Michigan. I hope to see as many of you as possible there. They're too afraid to go there because of January 6th. I'm going to be there. Look. This appeal could yo-yo back and forth. You could have a lower court's appeal heard and say, we overturn the district court. But then they can say, nope, now we need to hear it en banc, and we overrule what the previous panel said. Will this go all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States? If that's what it takes for justice to get served, I hope so. I hope it doesn't go to the Supreme Court, because I'm hoping it can get overturned even quicker than that. So there you go. There's still some last-minute motions that are being made, I'm sure, or probably are going to be made, to try to get this thrown off the last minute, and I hope that succeeds. If not, there's the appeals process. And we'll see what happens with that. I had a previous one from John that I didn't get a chance to read, Lynn. If you could grab that real quick for me, please. And then I'm going to... John Crump, thanks for another super chat, man. And pardon my voice, guys. I know this isn't the best to listen to, but not feeling good tonight. But I'm going to be getting off here in just a couple minutes. John Crump News with another super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. He said the government's lawyer complained to the judge that I called her evil in one of my videos. Wow. Wow, dude. I don't know anything about the prosecutor specifically as a person, but I can tell you what, these are acts of evil being purported. So you called her evil in a video, and she actually brought that up to the judge. Wow. Not surprised, though. Nothing surprises me anymore, dude. Nothing. Thanks, John. All right, Jordan Adams. Jordan Adams, thanks for the generous super chat. I appreciate it. Says the end goal is modern day slavery. Yeah. We thought that slavery was made illegal. No, actually not. Yes, the slavery of certain people was made illegal, but it made it where everybody can be a slave. Don't forget that. Everybody who's incarcerated, slavery is 100% legal. They want to disarm us, so we can't stop them when they start lowering wages, and then eventually it's more working just to live. May not be in our lifetime, but that's the goal. Yeah. Well, that's what communism is, man. I agree with you. You know, I've talked about this for a long time, and right here. This is one of the very, very first Soviet currencies. The Bolsheviks took control of Russia during the October Revolution of 1917, establishing the Russian Socialist Federated Soviet Republic, a precursor to the USSR. This is one of their very first notes. And a lot of people died under this revolution and the Cultural Revolution of China under Mao. And a lot of people have died in this country too. And a lot more people will die in this country. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. I think I already read this one earlier, but I will definitely read it again. QD said, Matt at CRS Firearms is a hero. Well, thanks, man. Another super duper super chat from QD. Thanks, dude. I appreciate you, man. He says, Drama Llama Go. Where's Johnny B in this? Here's an interesting factoid. I think I've had Lamy on this channel actually longer than Johnny B. So here you guys go. This channel is sponsored by all of you. And one of the most expenses of the channel is shop security, which is done by Lamy. On his half track, that was sponsored by Pillbox Bunker at a Second Amendment Sanctuary County event in Livingston County. So that's another thing that's going on in Michigan. So tomorrow there's going to be a rally at the Berry County Courthouse in Hastings, Michigan. I'm going to be there. Just come say hi to me if you guys are there. Also, on Monday, the 24th, Livingston County, Michigan is going to be voting again for a Second Amendment sanctuary resolution. Now, they did one a few years ago. They're doing another one for a couple of reasons. First of all, a lot of people on the Board of County Commissioners have changed hands, and they want to make sure all the current ones are still there to defend the Second Amendment, especially with all these new gun control laws that are just sweeping through Michigan. Also, they changed the language a little bit more to give it more teeth. So stay tuned. I'll be reporting on that. But that is going to be Monday. I'm also going to be doing an event at Top Gun, which is in Taylor, Michigan, with Brendan from Great Lakes Gun Rights and my favorite Michigan State Representative, Jamie Thompson, on May 4th. So add that to your schedule. And I'll be keeping you guys updated here on this YouTube channel, as well as on my locals channel and on my Facebook. I do have a Facebook. And while we're talking about other alternate media, I also have a Rumble channel, which people have been asking me to stream to, and I may, as soon as that gets built up a little bit more. That is a newer channel that I started there, and make sure you check me out on Rumble as well. What are they going to be doing with these force reset triggers and all these braces? Now we have the precedent where, look, it all started off with the bump stock precedent under President Trump. I know I just lost a subscriber because I told the truth. Under President Trump, the bump stock president, just saying I don't like him, let's use the Chevron deference and just ban him, that really set the stage for all of this slippery slope. Now we've got potentially 40 million future felons of America. Whatever you just saw happen to Matt Hoover, a.k.a. CRS Firearms, Justin Irvin. Do you own one brace? 10 years. Maybe some of you own 5 braces. 50 years. As far as I can tell anyways, that's what that would be, 50 years. That's what Hoover's facing. By my rough math, if I'm off on the numbers, I'm sorry, guys. I just want you to realize what's going on here. Do you own 12 braces? 120 years. That's what Irving's facing. Something that you bought that was totally legal and even had a letter in many cases from the government. See, that's where you can't look. They made this stuff into privileges. If you have to ask for it, if you have to pay money for it, if you have to fill out a form, if you have to do a background check, if you have to do anything for it, it's no longer you exercising a natural God-given right. You're begging for a privilege. And this proves it. I beg you, government, for the privilege of having this plastic piece on the back of my pistol that helps stabilize it more. All right, permission granted. Wrote you letters. We should be writing them. They should be begging us to write them a letter to allow them to even keep their doors open tomorrow. I mean, this whole concept that a government that's created to protect your natural, certain unalienable rights, that instead of begging you for permission to exist, you're now begging them? Think about how messed up this is for a second here. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. That's to secure your rights. Instead, the ATF, they wrote letters saying, yeah, you're allowed to have one of these, I guess, or something, for a decade. A lot of your pistol braces you bought came with a small little letter that was a little bit bigger than this. This is just to remind you that almost all of you watching right now will be felons soon. Just keep that in mind. Man. They give you a little version of the letter that says, you have our permission, I guess, to have this little piece of plastic. Do you guys think I'm very far off on that? They should be begging us to write them a letter to allow them to come into work tomorrow. Instead, it's the other way around. People frantically writing the ATF all these years. But what if I this? What if I put an extra piece of Velcro on my brace? What if I draw a picture of a lightning link that's close to a lightning link, but not exactly right? But it looks like one, but what if my brace has adjustable positions? What if my brace is pink? What if it's black? Well, I know I already have a letter that says that my brace is perfectly legal, but what if a bird poops on it? Would that be considered modifying it? Yeah. That's what cuck gun owners did for the last decade in this country. Is begged and pleaded with the ATF. Can I please have this? Can I please have that? They should be begging us for their paycheck, but they don't. No. In the United States of America, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Yes. That's what the Constitution of the U.S. says. And this country has been relegated to a very sparse privilege. When I say this country, I know some of you watch from Canada, many places. And I'm sitting here somewhere right now streaming, but I have no idea where. Because in the United States of America, where the supreme law of the land simply says shall not be infringed, I shouldn't even have to think about this. It's preposterous that I would even have to do a stream talking about 2 people going to prison for having a drawing of something. Somebody said, well, there's no way they can lock up all 40 billion people that own a brace, can they? I'm like, you want to bet? 40 million people? Mao took care of a lot more than that. That's a small stack. Ask Stalin how to get rid of tens of millions of people. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but yeah, if they wanted to ruin 10 million, 20 million, 40 people's lives with braces, obviously they could. We live in a country right now where people grovel for permission, where people grovel for little teeny, little nuggets, little nibbles that the ATF will let you have. We live in a country where people beg for a privilege, not demand that the government secures their rights. When's the last time you had any government official beg you to be allowed to exist? When's the last time you had a politician or any government person whatsoever, not just politicians, but just any person that gets a government paycheck say, please, please, I have a family to feed. Will you please allow my job to exist? I'm not talking about them as people personally. I'm talking about their job titles, that they would be allowed to exist. Not them as people. I think everyone should know that, but I have to clarify their job position. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Really sad day today. That 2 people are going down for machine gun and conspiracy and other charges for drawings. And I don't see anything going on in the courts at all right now that looks very promising. Not saying it won't be promising long term, just not right now. As far as stopping this pistol brace thing, it's been reported they're picking up forced reset triggers. So if you have one of those, go talk to someone who gives legal advice, because I don't. Make sure your dog's secure, because we're just looking at the anniversary of Waco, and we think about Ruby Ridge, and make sure your dog's secure if you have forced reset trigger. All right, I'm going to read a couple more chats and jump off here. And I do have a stream already scheduled over on Locals, which is a different site, censorship free, because some of you probably want to talk guns for a little bit, and I do too. I love being with you guys here. I just kind of can't, because the terms of service of YouTube don't allow me to touch guns while I'm live. QD with another generous super chat. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you, dude, and I hope you're doing well, man. He says, John Crump is poor or smarter than us. I don't think he's poor. I don't think he's ever been accused of being poor. So I'll just throw that out there. Well, thanks, QD. I appreciate you, dude. Thanks so much, man. And Mr. C, thanks for the super chat, man. How's it going? He says freedom equals revolution/civil war. Yeah, that's what it meant in April of 1775. We're just celebrating the anniversary of that. And then what's so-called United States Civil War, that also happened over 150 years ago now. Geez, time flies, doesn't it? 160 years ago. You know what? I know for a fact we're in a civil war right now. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty darn obvious. Because keep in mind, for every one of us that's ticked off right now and just going, what the heck? What the heck's going on here? There's probably another person or even 2 people. Well, I'll just be more blunt about it. For every one of us that's disgusted, there's 2, 3, 4, or 5 people jumping for joy right now. Then there's about 94 people going, ugh. For those of you that aren't watching, I'm just sitting here staring off in space, trying to drool, but my mouth's too dry to drool right now. Just going, duh. That's what I see most of the time in America lately, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. For every one person that's disgusted about what happened today, 5 more people are celebrating, 94 people are going, ain't nobody coming for your guns. What's going on? America, nobody's coming for your guns. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I'm going to talk about guns in just a couple minutes over on Locals, which is a different site, censorship free. Links down there in the description. You can join for free, or you can support. Mike McClune with a super sticker. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, dude. And a channel member. And I can't see the sticker on this particular software, but I'm guessing it might be something hippo-ish, maybe. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, dude. And that is just a guess based on a long history of you supporting the channel, man. All right. I'm sure there's going to be some more questions. I'm not an expert on this, but I am going to jump off right now. I do think I know what's going on when it comes to tyranny, and I think that's pretty obvious right now. One last minute super chat. Calvin L., thank you. And thank you for being a channel member. Do you think binary triggers are next? I think they're in line for sure. I don't know if they're the very next thing, but I think under the general term, yep. No doubt. Dude, they're all next. But I think I know where you're heading with that. Wouldn't surprise me if that was tomorrow. Wouldn't even be surprised. Dude, it'll be everything. If we're still on here hanging out on this channel 2, 3, 5 years from now, it'll be revolvers. It'll be cap guns. It'll be whatever. I mean, be honest. That's where things are heading. But while we can still have guns, I am in the mood to touch guns. I just cannot do that here. So I really appreciate you guys being here and continuing to give me super chats where I just can't quite get off yet. Thank you, QD, for another generous super chat, man. He said closed Walmarts are easily converted into concentration camps. Could be. Could be. I hope not, but ooh. QD said LOL. I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate all of you guys being here. I know this was all doom and gloom tonight, but I mean it as encouragement. It's like, come on, wake up, hello. And that's you guys, just society in general. And I try to talk tonight and give you guys a place to talk and a place for you guys to vent and hang out. And just to remind all of you that, yes, we are in a culture war right now, no matter what. You need to start talking to people about this stuff because politics is definitely downstream from culture. And evil is prevailing right now, in my opinion, because too many good men are doing nothing. So with that, I encourage you all. And wish you all well. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys in Michigan tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see some of you again in Livingston County at the county commissioners meeting on Monday. And I will be back to talk about, this is a teaser video for the weekend, yet another Michigan gun control bill that you guys might not know about yet, but I'm sure you're super, super excited for. But I'm excited to see what's in this Soviet arms box and that Gerson box and some other stuff. So I will see you guys on locals. It's supposed to start 1 minute ago. Give me 10 minutes because I need to drink and I'll be ready. I will see you guys soon. All right, guys. Thanks for watching and have a good one. Link is down in the description for my locals community. Last second here.